And access on display in Beijing. Xi, Putin and Kim front and center, flexing military might while Trump claps back. Plus, struck at sea. The U.S. military blows a Venezuelan drug cartel boat out of the water. Nicolas Maduro cries foul. And a crackdown in Chicago.
Chicago is a hellhole.
Donald Trump says the National Guard is coming. Illinois governor calls the president unhinged. The stories that matter, clear and credible, from across the country to around the world. These are your unbiased updates from Straight Arrow News. Good morning, I'm Craig DeGrelli. This morning, a parade of power in Beijing, China putting its military muscle on display, alongside Russia's Vladimir Putin and North Korea's Kim Jong-un in a show of solidarity against the West. The massive Victory Day parade marked 80 years since the end of World War II, and it showcased China's most advanced weaponry, fighter jets, drones, hypersonic missiles, and for the first time, its land, sea, and air-based nuclear forces. President Xi Jinping praised the, quote, international friends who helped China resist Japan in World War II, but did not name the United States. That snub prompted President Trump to accuse Xi, Putin, and Kim of conspiring against the U.S. On Truth Social, he asked whether Xi would, quote, mention the massive amount of support and blood America gave China during the war. The parade comes as Beijing pushes a new global governance initiative, a challenge to the U.S.-led order that's defined world politics since World War II. This morning, a legal setback for President Trump's immigration crackdown. A federal appeals court in New Orleans has ruled the administration wrongly invoked a 200-year-old law to deport migrants. Trump has framed migration as an invasion, and last spring turned to the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 to fast-track the removal of suspected members of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang. But the court said the evidence did not support an actual invasion or predatory incursion, making it likely petitioners will prove the law was misused. The ruling paves the way for a showdown at the U.S. Supreme Court over how far presidents can go in using emergency powers on immigration. Donald Trump did score a limited win, with the same court saying the administration's 7-day notice of deportation did comply with a previous high court order. The long-awaited Epstein files have dropped on Capitol Hill, but the release is raising more questions than answers. The House Oversight Committee made public more than 33,000 pages of records from the Justice Department. But Democrats point out 97% of the documents were already made public, many just old court filings. Kentucky Republican Thomas Massie, teaming with Democrats, says this is a document dump meant to give cover to the Trump administration. He's pushing a bipartisan petition to force a floor vote requiring the DOJ to release all the files within 30 days. House Speaker Mike Johnson called Massie's move meaningless, but some Republicans, including Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert, have already signed on. The documents include flight logs and audio from the initial investigation into Jeffrey Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. But victims and lawmakers on both sides say the public deserves far more. In fact, this morning, Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna, along with Massie, will stand with survivors of Epstein's abuse to demand more transparency. President Trump says the U.S. military has struck a drug boat in the Caribbean, a move that escalates his war on cartels and may lead to further clashes with Venezuela. Trump posted a video of a small vessel erupting in flames, saying it belonged to the Tren de Aragua gang, a Venezuelan cartel the U.S. has labeled a terrorist group. You see it there? He claims 11 people were killed, calling it a warning to anyone thinking about bringing drugs into America. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters the counter-drug mission in the Caribbean would continue.
So the president's been very clear that he's going to use the full power of America and the full might of the United States to take on and eradicate these drug cartels, no matter where they're operating from and no matter how long they've been able to act with impunity. Those days are over.
The strike comes as the U.S. builds up naval power in the region with Marines, warships, and aircraft on standby. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro is calling it, quote, an imperialist threat. He's accusing Washington of using cartels as an excuse for regime change. This morning, President Trump is escalating his fight with Chicago over crime and law enforcement. He says he is planning to send National Guard troops into the city, whether state leaders like it or not. In an Oval Office exchange on Tuesday, Trump blasted Chicago as a hellhole and murder capital of the world, comparing it to war zones overseas. He says he has an obligation to act.
There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing.
The president has already sent troops or federal agents to Washington, D.C., which he now calls a crime-free zone, and Los Angeles, the latter of which a judge ruled Tuesday is unconstitutional. Trump is now signaling Chicago is likely next, with, as you heard, Baltimore also on the list. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is pushing back and digging in, calling the president's comments unhinged.
We know before anything has happened here that the Trump plan is to use any excuse to deploy armed military personnel to Chicago. If someone flings a sandwich at an ICE agent, Trump will try and go on TV and declare an emergency in Chicago. I'm imploring everyone, if and when that happens, do not take the bait.
Pritzker and other Democrats say the move is purely political and vow to fight it in court. Trump, however, insists he does not need the governor's permission. The president said within a week of federal intervention, Chicago would have, quote, no crime, something city leaders call absurd. President Trump is dismissing a viral video that claims to show a black bag being tossed out of a window at the White House. The clip, posted over the weekend, appears to show an object, see it there, dropped from a second-floor window where the president's private residence is located. But Trump says it's a fake.
That's probably AI generated.
So,
Actually, you can't open the windows. You know why? They're all heavily armored and bulletproof.
so that's a fake video.
Well, it's got to be because I know every window up there. The last place I'd be doing it is that because there's cameras all over the place, right?
When a reporter showed him the video directly, as you see there, the president pushed back again that it would not be possible.
Those windows they're all sealed. You can't open them.
Trump joked that if something bad ever happens, just blame AI. Experts at UC Berkeley who reviewed the footage say they don't see signs it was AI generated, and sources tell CNN the bag was likely related to ongoing renovations inside. Finally this morning, Hawaii's Kilauea volcano is putting on another dramatic show, shooting lava hundreds of feet into the air. This is the 32nd episode of Eruption since December. Look at that. How cool is that in so many ways, right? Scientists say all part of one long event, really, with magma following the same underground path to the surface. This time, lava is gushing from 3 different vents. But so far, it's all contained inside the summit crater at Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. Kilauea, one of the world's most active volcanoes, continues to remind residents and visitors just how unpredictable so-called paradise can be. Again, nobody in danger, just some real cool video to show you this morning. Wow, imagine being on vacation and that happens. They have a lot of pictures. All right, a busy day in Washington and beyond. As we mentioned, this morning lawmakers Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie will stand with survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's abuse to demand more transparency. Then, at 11, President Trump welcomes Poland's president for bilateral talks. At 3, the Harlem Hellfighters receive a long-awaited Congressional Gold Medal for their heroism in World War I. And at 4, top officials, including Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and Attorney General Pam Bondi, announced the opening of a new ICE detention center in Louisiana called Camp 47. Breaking news, your inbox is bored. Fix it with our Unbiased Updates newsletter. Go to san.com/newsletters to sign up. Those are your Unbiased Updates for today. We'll see you back here tomorrow. For all of us at Straight Arrow News, I'm Craig DeGrelli. Have a great day.